If anybody wants this doll, $210 to my PayPal right now and tell me in the chat, and it is yours. Um, this particular doll uh, is worth quite a bit, and I got it at a secondhand store, and I'm not going to say which one, on the half off sale. Uh, I don't even like Cabbage Patch dolls, never did. I think they're ugly. I don't like them. Um, and they were like a scam thing in California when like they first came out. All of a sudden, the malls were getting rushed. People were standing in line at stores, getting in fights and everything, and they were jacking the price up. And they went from like $35 to like in the thousands for people to get a Cabbage Patch doll. Now, I have been to the Cabbage Patch Hospital, where they make them and stuff, in Tennessee. Been there lots of times. One, my like second set of parents, which no one will ever replace my real parents, but like my second set of parents, um, uh, um, the Vaughns, they lived right down the street from there, and um, uh, I could go by there anytime I wanted, and it's a great show. If you ever get a chance to go to that museum when you're traveling, it's a super neat show in there. If you can go in time for them to do the kids that come out of the Cabbage Patch, and then they go to the hospital ward, and they go in cribs, and then you can pick out your own baby and name it. They give you a birth certificate, and it's a real big ordeal. So if you have a small child, it's kind of a neat thing. Um, and they're very reasonable. They have all different prices and different dolls with different colors hair, all kinds of stuff. They've got the store right there in the building too, so you can pick out dolls right from the store if you don't want to wait. But you got to hang out for the Cabbage Patch show. It's super cute. Um, and all the times I've been up there, there was always like 50 people there for the Cabbage Patch shows. But it's just a little tiny house, and they made it the Cabbage Patch Hospital. It's pretty cute. But anyway, so this was a big battle for a long time, these Cabbage Patch dolls, and they were just jacking the price up. And I don't know why, they're quite ugly. To me. I mean, I, I like the big walking dolls. Chrissy doll's a beautiful doll. Um, Barbie dolls never lasted. I never really cared for them. Although my dad was very good friends with the people that their children were Barbie and Ken, and they were the ones that had the dolls made after their children because they thought they were the most beautiful children. Yeah, that's a true story. They were brother and sister, not boyfriend and girlfriend. Um, no, incest is not best. But anyway, they were just brothers and sister, and they were not lovers. But anyway, and as kids, we always thought that they were lovers, like boyfriend and girlfriend, but they were not. Anyway, they were real people. But anyway, so thank God, one of my kids, my daughter, never asked for a Cabbage Patch doll, and never ever. And I really thought they were kind of ugly and scary, honestly. Um, and so thank God I never had to go through that because they always stayed pretty pricey. Um, and a lot of people really liked them. There's people that collected them. I mean, it's a cute idea, but um, I mean, they just weren't much of anything. Um, I even tried to make one for my daughter years ago, and I did it, but it just took absolutely forever. You have to get special fabric. It's like pantyhose fabric, and then you have to pat it all in, and then you've got to sew this stuff in, which is really hard to do by hand. It is a nightmare, and uh, it's not fun to do. Trust me, it is just not fun. And then to do the original heads with the pantyhose type fabric, and sew it all in. It's just a horrible job. Yeah, because you could buy the pattern and all that stuff and do it yourself. No. Raggedy Ann's my favorite. And I'll stick with that any day. But anyway, so through the years, I have picked them up off the street in the trash. I have got them at yard sales, secondhand stores, and kind of threw them in a box. I had probably 15 of them in the storages that were stolen. And you know, some of them were dirty, some of them looked good, some of them had no clothes. Um, I had like extra clothes and shoes and all that good stuff. And I thought, well, one day, you know, these things would be really worth a ton. And I'll just keep picking up these ugly dolls and I'll sell them. And I don't believe I have that box of those dolls. I'm not sure because I'm going through the storages now and selling a bunch of stuff off. But I picked this one up at a secondhand store just recently on the half off sale. And I bought it only because it was cheap. Otherwise, I would have never bought it. I just don't like them. But oddly enough, this one's worth quite a bit of money. And if you want it right now, um, then I will uh, sell it to you. Um, and hold on a second. I will be right back. sorry about that. I had a meeting with management, but it worked out fine. But anyway, okay, so here we go. All right. Key to the other bathrooms. And we all need it because the other people are here for the other offices. And I got a free pair of really cool sunglasses. But anyway, so anyway, the thing with the Cabbage Patch dolls is, you know, some are incredibly valuable. And it's really upon the collector. And the next thing is that if you try to wash the doll, okay, it makes some collectors very mad because it could really ruin the doll. So it's better just to sell it pretty much as is and let them handle it, because the real collector knows how to deal with it and how to clean it and do all that stuff. So you know, and they actually suggest you take and put it like in a pillowcase, tie the pillowcase top off, throw it in the washer, you know, so that it's clean for your kids. But the problem is that today, if you're working with a doll that may have value to it, you don't want to do that. So you just want to sell it like it is and be done with it. And I've had some that were funky looking. This one's not too bad. I may attempt to wipe a few spots down, but I'm not gonna. They say don't submerge it in water, you know, until you know its value, because you could ruin the value of it. So this particular doll, well, let's see. Well, I'm gonna go through the identification procedures. So you have a neck identification that is here. Let's see if I can get in here. And there's a series of numbers here. Okay. And those particular numbers are 4-digit numbers, most of them. This one particularly reads 1078, 1983, 0AA, and 1*C. And then it has a 67 and a 9, and that's supposed to be the date of the head mold and which head mold and what name the baby is. So then your next thing is the booty signature. Okay, now they say some are like upside down and hand signed or whatever, and some are fakes, so you have to be careful what you get. The little booty signatures on the left buns, okay, and you have different colors of the signatures, okay, and so what I was going to tell you, and I had it on here a minute ago. Where it be? Okay. The little signatures on the buns, you've got 1983 is black. And this is Xavier. Okay. And 1984 is green, which is usually the preemies and foreign kids had the black Siggies that year, but other than that, everything else was green. 1985 is blue. 1986 is red. 1987 is aqua. 1988 is lavender. And 1989 is rose. And apparently, I mean, to me, this looks more like rose, but apparently they're claiming this one is the red. So apparently this is like a 1986 doll. And then the tags, the first Coleco kids had embroidered tags, and they're really rare. This is a printed tag, okay? And then, you know, you get like this part. And then nothing here. This is fabric, and it's just a printed tag. Like these are printed, and they sewed them in when they built the doll. And this one says 1978. Okay. 1982. And then it has the OK stamp in the corner. We'll see if we can see that. There it is. Made in China. Do not dry clean. Surface washable. See, it's telling you not to even submerge it. And this is Coleco Industries. Okay. And uh the side body tag will let you know what factory and the country of origin that your doll is from. You look for the factory code, which is 1, 2, or 3 letters, and it's sometimes accompanied by a number. And the Coleco factory codes, which this is it right here, where it says OK, like Oklahoma or something. OK, KT, IC, UT, P, PMI, SS, and WS. Okay. And that tells you a lot right there. Okay. Um, and but there's many types of Cabbage Patch Kids. Um, the vintages are really mass market. And your most valuable are going to be like the 70s ones and then the 80s ones. So uh, the Xavier Roberts signature is on it's an authentic signature that's on the buns of the doll. And some have dates, others do not. If there's no date, the year can be identified by the color. Some kids are hand signed by Xavier, mostly softies, but the MM kids were signed at collectors events. Um, and then let's see. The Coleco editions were 1983 to 1989. Cabbage Patch Kids were introduced in 1983. The kids were 16 to 18 inches tall, depending on the factory. They were bald or had a full head of hair. Cabbage Patch Preemies, 1984 to 1985. The preemies were 14 to 15 inches tall. So see, they were a bit shorter than the 83s. And they were bald or had tufts of hair. The Coleco AA preemies had brown tufts, and Caucasian preemies had tan or yellow tufts. The Couture kids appeared in Canada wearing fur coats and hats in 1984. Those are really cute, though. I like their little outfits. The specialty lines introduced in 1985, the Twins, World Travelers, Western Kids, To Go with Show Ponies. Special editions were full-size kids. And then the Koosas also came out in 1985. Now, they make a black Cabbage Patch doll. I have never seen a black Cabbage Patch doll, but they make a black one that's worth a huge amount of money. Okay. And so if you ever see that black doll, you better grab it. It is worth a ton. I saw one on the internet yesterday that sold on eBay for like $800 or something, and I posted it on there on my channel. And but yeah, I gotta keep track of this key here. But anyway, so let's see, 1978, 1982. Okay. All right. So your ID marks are the back of the head, on the buns. Okay. And then your taggies. Now, there was a lot of fakes being made, so you got to make sure you don't have a fake. This particular doll is worth well over $200, as is. And I do have an outfit for it. I don't know if this is an original, and I'm not going to do anything with this either because I'm afraid to wash it. It might self-destruct, you know. A lot of times you have to be very careful with fabric. I did a oil painting of one of my kids in a 200-year-old dress. And it was such a nightmare to put that thing together, and it belonged to a relative. I think it was Tessie's baby dress. And then Roseanne used it for something, I don't know. And so I did a photography session with my daughter in that yellow gown. And then I did a beautiful oil painting, which is in the storages that were stolen. And it was a shame because I would have liked to have given that to her now that she's all grown up, if she'd have wanted it. But I mean, it is good oil painting. I did a lot of that in college. It was great fun. And all they do is go, okay, buy this stuff, now paint. And I'm like, aren't you going to show me how to paint? Nope. You use red, yellow, and blue, and you can use black or a little white, but mix your own colors and paint. And I'm like, huh? That's all they tell you. But anyway, so this must be a real outfit, which might be the outfit that came with this doll originally. This is Cabbage Patch Kids. I'm kind of afraid to fool with it. It does have a couple stains on it. But they say you shouldn't wash anything. Just sell it as it is. This doll is actually in very good shape for a Cabbage Patch Kid, because normally they're crappy. All the ones that I kind of gathered up were pretty crappy. Uh, and I guess it's mostly due to age, but honestly, I really think it's a horribly ugly doll. But, but if you want to buy it right now, you can PayPal me $210. I will ship it to you in the United States with signature delivery confirmation right now. Okay, so let's see. All right. Okay, since Cabbage Patch Kids came into being at the Babyland General Hospital in 1978, they were an instant hit with parents and children alike. These dolls, made by Xavier Roberts, began with the name Little People and were sold with individualized birth certificates. Now, that's one thing. If you have the birth certificate or the original box or whatever, it even increases the value. This doll comes with nothing but the, I guess, original outfit here. But the doll's in really good shape, oddly enough. All right. Let me get some drink here. Since then, the dolls have been in high demand, and so, along with the new models of the dolls, copies have infiltrated the market. If you want to make sure your Cabbage Patch Kid is authentic, you can look for a few telltale signs. And this is on under how to adult and how to know if you have a real Cabbage Patch doll. So let's see. Identify the doll's make. Over the years, a number of companies have manufactured Cabbage Patch Kids. Xavier Roberts himself, hello. I don't like them either. I never have. And thank God there's Jeffrey. And there's Wayne. And I never have. And thank God my kids never asked for one. As a matter of fact, my youngest was given two by my husband back then. And we got rid of them. As a matter of fact, I sold them on eBay. As fast as I could. I made bank. I had one, you'll never believe this. I had one in the box that was that race car driver that died. He was still alive then, I think. It was in like 05 that I sold that doll, and it was a copy of the race car driver. I forget his number 8 or whatever it was, the guy that died. And I made bank on that doll in the box, brand new. I do not like them. I just don't. And but anyway, yeah, I sold that doll at auction on eBay. But it says, let's see. Identify the dolls make. Over the years, a number of companies have manufactured Cabbage Patch Kids. Xavier Roberts himself handmade the first ones. However, in 1982, Coleco took over the production and began creating the 16-inch dolls with the vinyl heads and soft bodies. And I've tried to make one of these like twice. I went and got the pattern and everything. It's a horrible job. You will hate it. And you won't be in very good spirits. I did it because I thought, well, I'll make one, so I should be able to make one prettier than the ones that they make. And you had to do the stocking head and everything and sew all this stuff. It's a nightmare to sew this stuff in. It is a 100% nightmare. you absolutely hate it. Um, but anyway, let's see. 1988, Hasbro purchased the rights to Cabbage Patch Kids, so that means he sold it off to them, and began making gimmicky versions of the dolls, such as the birthday kids and baby dolls. When Mattel took over the next year, they created all vinyl dolls 2 inches smaller than the originals. Now that's interesting how Mattel got in there. I've been to the Mattel manufacturing company. My mother took us there and we went for the tour thing, and then we got to play in the game room with all the new toys that weren't even put out. Yeah, I saw it also hunted. It is in a glass case. Yeah. Um, and uh, it was really a lot of fun. And then they gave you a free toy when you left. It was so neat. My mother used to take us to a lot of factories and stuff, and we got the tour and see how they made the toys and stuff. Really super neat. But Mattel was pretty awesome. I'll never forget that. And then Mom Layton, uh, she worked there for years and years and retired from Mattel, and she's told a lot of cool stories about that. But anyway, so let's see. The last two companies to take over Cabbage Patch Kids production, Toys R Us and Play Along Kids, reverted to the soft-bodied, vinyl-headed dolls. Okay, also available, although not as prominent, were porcelain Cabbage Patch Kids, available directly through Janbury Mint. Do you believe that? Oh, I bet those were high as hell. Okay, look for Xavier's signature. The true Cabbage Patch Kids have his trademark signature on their left bun. The color of the ink used depends on the year, but the most common colors were actually blue and green. Then you have to decide the materials used to make up the Cabbage Patch Kids' hair, which this is just like yarn. Um, was traditionally made out of yarn, but some models with soft or corn silk hair were also available. And this one's just yarn. We can see this is yarn. Thank you for the thumbs up. Okay. It's so scary. Ugh. I didn't like them. I'm glad my kids never had to have any. Because other kids were crying, throwing tantrums over those dumb dolls. And they're ugly. I mean, why wouldn't you fight over Raggedy Ann instead? Raggedy Ann was cool. You know what I mean? Raggedy Ann dresses were cool. And all my kids had Raggedy Ann dresses. I made them. And they were so cute. Um, let's see. Even boys had Raggedy Anns and Raggedy Andies. Okay, so let's see. Identify the materials that make up your doll's head. The earliest handmade Cabbage Patch Kids had soft, sculpted features. This is very true. They had the pantyhose face. The earliest handmade Cabbage Patch Kids had soft, sculptured features, but however, when Coleco took over the manufacturing thereafter, the vinyl heads sported decal eyes and airbrushed rosy cheeks. Decaled eyes, airbrushed rosy cheeks. Ensure your doll's features correspond with those of the manufacturer. For instance, if your doll is completely made of vinyl and sports a Coleco brand name, then you can be sure that your doll is a fake. How do you like that? I've seen those. I have some of the videos of dolls sometimes moving on their own. Well, you got to believe in ghosts. I'm telling you, I do. I've lived in several haunted houses, and they're definitely interesting. They do exist, I promise you. Um, good and bad. Ensure that, let's see, if your doll is completely made of vinyl and sports a Coleco brand name, then you can be sure your doll is a fake. A Coleco created cloth-bodied dolls. However, if your doll has the appropriate brand for its body type, then you can be assured that your Cabbage Patch Kid is authentic. For further confirmation, locate your doll's birth certificate, as this will provide the year of your doll's creation and help you define its features based on that year's manufacturer. And so they did come in a box with a little birth certificate. If you were at the hospital right there, whether you stayed there for the dolls to be born in the Cabbage Patch show and waited for them to go through the hospital. I mean, it takes hours for all that. and they go into the ward, and you know, you adopt the child and you name it, and they do all this big to do, making your birth certificate and all that kind of stuff. So it's registered and all that. Or you can just go in their store and buy one. They usually come with a little birth certificate thing. That really increases the value. If you have the original clothes, you know, the birth certificate, whatever. Now, there's a lot of people who sell clothes and parts and shoes on the internet for these dolls. Like they only have all the clothes, no dolls, and they're worth quite a bit. Um, you might find them at a yard sale. Um, and I mean, they had patterns, so if you could sew, you could make the little clothes for these dolls, just like Barbie dolls. My mom made all the clothes for my Barbies for um my and that it didn't take a lot to do the Barbie outfit. I mean, it was just stitches and little tiny pieces of fabric. Um, but you know, the Chrissy doll, that was a big deal. My mother used to make all of my Chrissy dolls clothes. Um, and I mean, I had a doll that was styling and profiling. Okay, I mean, it was cool. Where you had matching outfit, you know, with your dolly. You know, my mom used to do all that. She's a fabulous seamstress. And okay, so let's see. Da 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 da. What's the next thing here? Um, and it talks about registering the dolls. And and kind of goes from there. But uh, it's darn interesting. But again, if you want to buy this dolly, $210, you can PayPal me right now. Tell me in the chat, and I'll let you go ahead and PayPal me, and I will ship it to you, and you can keep it and hold on to it. And it's just going to keep going up in price because this is actually a very valuable doll. This doll is the Cabbage Patch Kid doll of 1986, and the starting price on it is $200. Um, if you have the red-haired one from 1988, the starting price of that value doll is $289. The 1984 is $250. The Xavier Roberts Cabbage Patch Kid doll of 82 is $300 and up. The Trang Pedigree Vintage Cabbage Patch Kid doll of 1983 is $5,500. Okay. If you have the Cabbage Patch Kid doll 71R 5098, which is a doll that was manufactured 1978 to 1982, which is probably the handmade ones that this guy made. That doll is worth well over $4,500. If you have the red shag hair brown-eyed kid of 1978 to 1982, that doll starts around $420. And let's see, Cabbage Patch Kids doll new in the box by Coleco, the 3900 series of 1984 start at about $395. That's about the cheapest you'll find them. And then the rare Cabbage Patch Kid dolls, vintage 80s, are $205 and up if you're lucky to catch it for that. Cabbage Patch Dolls Special Care Bears edition of the 1980s start at $200 on the market. Vintage Cabbage Patch Kids Coleco Filmer Fletcher doll, and I've seen that one. 1987 start at $219. The Coleco Girl Cabbage Patch Kids doll of 1984 starts around $250. Vintage Cabbage Patch doll Mac Jamie Preemie of 1985 starts at $1,000. Cabbage Patch Kids Twin Boy and Girl of 1984 start around $450 each. Now each. The Jesmar Cabbage Patch Kid of 1985 start about $185. The red hair, and this is used dolls, okay? The red hair Jesmar Cabbage Patch Kid of 1985 starts at $328. So these are not brand new in the box, untouched or any of that. These are like used dolls. Vintage used. The Dottie Jesmar Cabbage Patch Kid of 1985 starts at $139. Um, the Dottie Cabbage Patch Kids doll 1985 starts at $236. Okay. And these are just sale prices of what they're coming up, of what they've sold for. These are, like the cheapest prices. The Cabbage Patch doll of the 80s, you're talking around 300 and up. Especially if you have the number 20. And I'm trying to look for the numbers on this one here that I have, which I had it a minute ago. I probably knocked it down. Is this it? No. Well, I got it here somewhere. I'll look for it in a minute. Might be on this paper. I think it may be in my hand. Let's see. Number 9 and 67. Okay. And then we've got, let's see. Cabbage Kid Boy Doll, 1985, 175 and up. And then there's another one, 1986, 200 and up. So this doll, it has a value of, starting price, is actually close to 300 on this doll. So like this is Death's doll. Yeah, that's supposed to be that doll right there. But or one of them, but the same era. See how the face matches? And the ones that had the little teeth hanging out, they're worth a whole bunch of money. If you see them with those teeth hanging out, those are worth a bunch. You better get it. But like I say, we're talking years. Like, collectors don't want you to put this in the washer. Okay? They're worth in the thousands. Even today, and they were fighting over them back then when they first come out in the thousands. It was like, so who wants it? I was more concerned about Teddy Ruxpin, man. I wanted to get my daughter Teddy Ruxpin, and I ended up getting her one because Sam Walton, when I moved to Oklahoma, Sam Walton bought a truckload of them like he did. That's how he did business. He'd go in and say, look, I want, a bazillion of these items. What's the best price you can give me? And then he'd pay for it, and then they would ship it, and then he would get a warehouse or he would get a big trailer and throw all that crap in there and then start shipping them out to the stores. And when they needed more, they'd just ship more in. But he had it. He bought the market, and then he would sell it for a much cheaper price than anybody else. And that's what made people mad, was because he was so competitive. Everything he touched turned to gold. He would much rather take an item like, say, Cabbage Patch, where they were going for, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, people fighting over them, literally beating each other's brains out in lines in malls, trying to get one in the little toy stores. And I actually saw that. I actually saw stuff like that. I went to the mall, and my daughter wasn't even 5 months old, and I went out there just to go see, and there was 100 people lined up through this little toy store in this shopping mall, all the way out in the aisle, and people were arguing, and they were mad. They'd been there before, the store even opened, and all that, and they're just standing there, for hours because they want, a Cabbage Patch doll. And it was like, and I'm just like strolling by going, forget it. I talked to a few of the people, asked them questions and stuff, and it was like, why bother? It retails at like $30, and they're going to charge you a higher price, claiming they don't have any more, so they only have so many, and they're going to rip you off. And then everybody else is selling them as soon as they can buy one. They turn around and want to sell it for thousands because it's so wanted. And so why are you going to pay that kind of money for a $30 doll? It's pretty ugly. Sorry, no offense, but it really, to me, it's a very ugly doll. And was even creepier when it had that, pantyhose face. The first time I saw them, they had that pantyhose face, and they just looked like a bad car wreck. I mean, even the ugliest real baby was prettier than a Cabbage Patch doll to me. Yeah. I had a friend of mine that was what they call really ugly. My friend Eileen Berkey. Used to call her Eileen Berkey Turkey. She's about 6 foot tall, and she was like Frankenstein. That soft spoken, really nice girl, and my best friend. And then I saw her years later when I was working at Hank Vendetti's, and she was at the counter ordering some food. She's like, "Do you remember me?" And I'm like, "No." And then she said, "I am Eileen," and I'm like, "Not Eileen Berkey." And she says, "Yes." And this girl looked like the surfer chick of the year. Okay, she was so beautiful. It was unreal. So, you know, it's sort of like if your baby's born ugly, they might be pretty later, or if your baby's born real pretty, they might be real ugly later. Or, all my kids were actually born very pretty and stayed nice looking. I was very, very blessed and very lucky. So, very rare, but still, I mean, even like an ugly baby is prettier than a Cabbage Patch doll. Sorry, I don't care for them. I don't know why kids even thought those were cool. Um, to me, a Raggedy Ann is 100% better doll. And it had triangle eyeballs. But anyway, they were just cool. They were funny with the striped legs and the little black shoes and the pretty dresses and the cute boy outfit. They were just too much fun. Um, but yeah, so it's really interesting, about what these dolls' values are. Um, but this one in particular is, I'm going to go over the head thing, which your head thing again is on the back. It's this thing here, the head mold stamps. Okay. And this one's 1078 1983 0AA 1 C with a 9 and a 6-7. And then it's got the signature on the buns, which kind of appears to be 86. I'm afraid to clean it and ruin it because they tell you that, that serious collectors don't want you to damage the doll. They don't do well with water. You might make it self-destruct, especially if it's a really old, valuable doll. So I'm selling it as is. If you want to buy it right now, 210 on my PayPal. I will ship it to you, and with a tracking number and all. And then the tag on this one is 1978, 1982. Factory code is OK, which I imagine that would be the Oklahoma factory. I don't know. And it is not an embroidered tag. It is a printed tag. So obviously they sewed it together with the tag when they manufactured the doll. And this is a Calico doll. With the plastic head and the pantyhose body, which is in fairly good shape. It has the yarn hair, okay, which is in incredible good shape, oddly enough. I haven't seen any that were really quite this good, especially outside of the box. This one's exceptionally good. I guess their kid didn't like it either. So probably just sat in mom's kitchen or something. And then I've got the little outfit that was on it that says Calico. So at first I thought it was a little handmade outfit, but this one actually does say Calico on it. So it's possible this is the outfit that it came with. I'm trying to get it to focus. Here we are, Cabbage Patch Kids. So, and it's a shame. A lot of these doll companies don't really make good clothes. This is actually made a little bit better than most doll clothes. But, I mean, you would think they'd triple stitch it. See, it's got some kind of stain on there. I don't know what that is. Coffee, I don't know. So there's a little jumpsuit and top thing that goes with. If you want it, tell me now and you PayPal me. But anyway, so that's what it is. If you see these dolls, they can be worth a huge, huge, huge amount of money. Um, uh, And any year is worth money used in whatever shape. Like I say, don't clean the doll or anything. The real serious collectors want it like it is. Um, but if you see the black doll, that is worth a whole bunch of money. And any of them that have the little teeth in them are really worth a lot of money. Um, those are the first identifying things. If you're out thrifting, or at a yard sale, if you see that black dog, you better get it, and as many as you can find, because that's one of the more valuable ones. And then the ones with the little teeth that are in the face, they might have like one tooth or a few teeth, but some of them just have one little tooth hanging out. Those are worth a lot. The ones with the little teeth in them. Well, I don't know, but yeah. So keep an eye out. I will always sell something ugly and make money on it. Works for me. I don't even like the thing. But, your trash is somebody else's treasure, they say. So, that it's a very interesting story, um, with the guy that, created the dolls. Um, and, let's see if I can see what else. If I can see anything else on here that we need to know. Let's see if we can do. I'm going to see if I can find a Wikipedia thing. Let's see if we can find it on the Wikipedia. It's hard to get in there anymore. They want you to pay, and they claim that it's going to be terminated if people don't pay. Okay, here, we've got something here. Here, Cabbage Patch Kids on Wikipedia. Okay, the free encyclopedia, this is online. Okay, and it says the Cabbage Patch Kids are a line of one-of-a-kind cloth dolls with plastic heads, first produced by Coleco Industries in 1982. They were inspired by the Little People soft sculptured dolls sold by Xavier Roberts as collectibles and registered in the United States Copyright Office in 1978 as the Little People. That's interesting because one of my first boyfriends, who I never slept with, we were just little. Um, he was his name was Roberts, Courtney Roberts, and they lived down the street from us. I wonder if his dad invented this doll. It's very possible. Um, the brand was renamed Cabbage Patch Kids by Roger Schlaffer when he acquired the exclusive worldwide licensing rights in 1982. The new doll brand set every toy industry sales record for 3 years running and was one of the most popular lines of children's licensed products in the 1980s and has become one of the longest running doll franchises in the United States. The characters and graphics created by Schlaffer and developed by his company. Schleifer Nance and Company, SN&C, were used on all Cabbage Patch products ranging from children's apparel, bedding, and infants' wear to record albums and board games. And if you go to that Cabbage Patch Hospital in Tennessee, they do sell like these accessories, like strollers and stuff like that. I'm not kidding you. I was like, oh my gosh. Okay, let's see. Creation and development. According to the court records, Roberts, being a 21-year-old art student at a missionary school in North Georgia, discovered craft artist Martha Nelson's doll babies. They came with a birth certificate and adoption papers. With the help of artist Debbie Moorhead, he had hand-stitched dolls called the Little People. Roberts very cleverly modified the look of the Nelson's dolls birth certificate, and adoption papers sufficiently to get a copyright, and told potential customers his little people weren't for sale, but they could be adopted for prices ranging from $60 to as much as $1,000. Why didn't we come up with this? You know what I mean? The little people were first sold at arts and crafts shows, then later at Babyland General Hospital, an old medical clinic that Roberts and his friends turned employees converted into a toy store in Cleveland, Georgia. And that's that one I'm talking about. It's just a little house, okay? And in 1981, at the height of Robert's success, he was approached by Atlanta designer and licensing agent Roger L. Schlafer about licensing the Little People, but since Schlafer thought the name was mundane and Fisher Price owned Little People, which were included in McDonald's Happy Meals. And I had a whole case of those suckers that were in the other storages. I don't think I have them here. And I was selling those on eBay a while back. I had a whole case of them. I can't remember where I got them. I think I found them in the trash or something, and they were all brand new in a box. For the toy category, the name was changed to Cabbage Patch Kids. His goal was to build the first and largest mass market children's brand in history in order to attract potential doll manufacturers and to create the entertainment and publishing business he envisioned. Schlafer and his partner, wife, wrote The Legend of the Cabbage Patch Kids. So they wrote the book. To make sense of how special cabbages gave birth to Cabbage Patch Kids, Schlafer invented bunny bees, the bee-like creatures that used their rabbit ears to fly about and pollinate cabbages with magical crystals. Isn't that just charming? Since Roberts insisted on being a character in the story, come on, Schlafer created him as a curious 10-year-old boy who discovered the Cabbage Patch Kids by following a bunny bee behind a waterfall into a magical cabbage patch, where he found the Cabbage Patch babies being born in a neglected garden. To save them from being abducted to work in the gold mines, operated by the villainous Lavender McDade, her two cohorts in crime, Cabbage Jack and Bo Weasel. Young Roberts tried to save them by finding loving parents who would adopt them and keep them safe in their homes. Oh my. That's so typically Southern. In 1982, Coleco's design team, headed by famed doll designer Judy Albert, devised the industry first. I'm going to move this a little closer. And we'll just put this like this. Let's see. Okay. 1982, Coleco's design team, headed by famed doll designer Judy Albert, devised an industry first one-of-a-kind plastic-headed Cabbage Patch Kids doll with cuter features, softer bodies, and a normal toddler's proportions instead of the morbidly obese bodies on Robert's originals. Wow, that's interesting. It was those comparatively inexpensive $18 to $28 dolls, branded in packaging designed by Schlafer and produced in the Coleco factories in China, that the public went crazy over, rioting to get their hands on one in stores across North America. The consumer response was so great that Coleco canceled all of its advertising as they tried to keep up with demand. Shipping a doll industry record 3.2 million dolls, a huge success, but minor compared to the 1984 sales of dolls and Cabbage Patch branded merchandise, the children's apparel, the bedding, the sleepwear, the books, and countless other products that generated an industry record of, um, oh my gosh, millions, truly millions, like 2 billion, 369. That's 2 billion in retail sales across North America, Europe, Japan, Australia, and New Zealand for an ugly doll. For an ugly doll, you guys. 2 billion. Um, okay, let's see. After convincing Roberts of the need to change the doll's name to Cabbage Patch Kids, Schlafer contacted all the major doll companies in the country, but with one small exception. They all turned him down, saying the look of little people was too ugly to sell on the mass market. I'm glad somebody agreed with me. However, because of Schlafer's persistence, he found Coleco, then famous for its success with electronic toys, and sold them on being his master toy licensee, for which he negotiated a record-setting advertising guarantee. At the peak of their popularity between 1983 and 1986, the dolls were a must-have toy for Christmas. So there you have it. This is when the fights begin. Cabbage Patch riots occurred. Here it is. Cabbage Patch riots occurred as parents literally fought, duking each other out, to obtain the dolls for children. In latter years, Coleco introduced variants of the original Cabbage Patch Kids, and derivatives of the original line of dolls continued to be marketed. Okay. The international variations, when Coleco was producing the dolls for the North American market during the 1980s, they provided technical assistance to other doll manufacturers in Panama, Europe, Australia, and Japan who wanted to use their molds. In the Hasbro years, these are all big toy things. I was always a big fan of Mattel, though. Mattel was kicking. Hasbro took over the rights to produce Cabbage Patch dolls in 1988 after Coleco filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Oh. And continued to make the dolls with various gimmicks, including dolls that played kazoos. What? Some of the more popular doll lines, could you imagine being a parent and you buy your kid this doll and it comes with a kazoo and they're going to drive you nuts? In the car, at the house, it would be like, you want to take that doll, you know? I'm sure a lot of these dolls end up in the garbage can for real, or in the barbecue. I bet, and they're worth so much money today. Don't throw the ugly doll away; it's worth money. Some of the more popular doll lines to come out under the Cabbage Patch Kids name included the Birthday Kids, Splash and Tan Kids, and Pretty Crimp and Curl. Hasbro produced a 10th anniversary doll, reintroducing Schleifer's original packaging, a practice that other CPK doll manufacturers would do to give sales a boost on various anniversaries. Hasbro gradually began making the dolls for younger children, which led to smaller and smaller dolls. Although Cabbage Patch dolls were still the best-selling toys, the rage was clearly over, and with no TV or movie presence, there was seemingly no way to significantly revive them. And which actually in the 80s is when, cable TV was becoming a big thing. And the reason people got cable TV was to get away from the commercials. Because if you watched one show, they would keep commercial breaking the death out of it. And then, when Beta came in and VHS was after that and all that, if you literally taped a show and you skipped all the commercials, the actual TV show was like 18 minutes long, literally. But it could have been a hour show when it was on the air, but it had so many darn commercials shoved into it, so that's why people paid for cable TV, to get away from the commercials. So let's see. Okay, the Mattel years. So that was Hasbro. Got in there. Then it goes to Mattel. because, let's see, Coleco did a chapter 11, and then it was Hasbro, and then it went to Mattel. So in 1994, Mattel acquired the licensing rights to the dolls from the original Appalachian Artworks. Their first Cabbage Patch dolls hit the stores in 1995. The Mattel Cabbage Patch dolls were not limited to cloth bodies and included dolls made from vinyl, resulting in more durable play doll, which honestly, yeah, that's a fact. You know, I'm gonna get you banned right off of YouTube. I promise. Do not hit my channel with your spam. You go pay for your own advertisement and get your porno crap off of my channel. Got me? Sorry, you guys. I have to get this garbage off my channel. Some real sickos. If you want to run a business, then spend your money to advertise. But don't listen to your mouth. Look at the stuff you wrote on here. You're nasty poo-poo. Boy, these people are nasty. Yucky poo-poo. Anyway, okay, so, I never could tolerate a cheap hoe, you know what I mean? You a cheap hoe. If you can't pay for your own advertising, don't do it on my channel. Um, okay, so let's see. In 1994, Mattel acquired the licensing rights of the dolls from original Appalachian Artworks. Their first Cabbage Patch dolls hit the stores in 1995. The Mattel Cabbage Patch dolls were not limited to cloth bodies and included dolls made from vinyl, which I've seen some of those, um, resulting in a more durable play doll. The Mattel dolls are mostly sized 14-inch or smaller. Now, if they went to plastic for the bodies, okay, after they did the heads and then they did the whole bodies in plastic, well, sure, it's going to be more durable than that, but it's easier to make because they just, you know, they shoot the goo in there and then cook it and then it pops out and boom. It's so much easier to make than all this stuff and have to sew all that stuff in. Trust me, because I've tried making them, so, you know, I've done it. Um, and let's see. The Mattel dolls are mostly sized 14-inch or smaller, and most variants were individualized with a gimmick to enhance their collectability. For example, some dolls played on water toys, swam, ate food, and brushed their teeth. Oh my gosh. Some memorable Mattel lines include the updated kids line of basic cloth dolls that came with birth certificates. The Olympi kids that were made, so how old I'm guessing, if it's all cloth and it was one you sewed yourself. Um, yeah, I did. They had a pattern you could buy. And so I decided to try to make my own, but make a prettier one because my kids never asked for that stuff. Well, probably because it looks creepy. I was very lucky I didn't have kids that were like that. They had to scream and yell out and jump up and down to get something. My kids were great and respectful. They didn't ask for $1 million toys, especially when people said, "What do you want for Christmas?" They never ask you like for $1 million toy and be distasteful. They, you know, I raised my kids really good. But yeah, and so I thought I could make one prettier, and you could buy a pattern at the store and make your own. And you could buy the exact fabric they're made out of and all that. But I wanted to make a prettier doll, which I did it. It just took like a year to make one doll. It is horrible to have to make, and I tried to do it again later. It was a pattern and head you bought from, I believe, Mattel. Actually, I didn't know. I bought a pattern because the original dolls came out as all fabric when they first came out, like in the 70s. And you could buy a pattern, um, years later and make your own. And so I had bought a pattern and all the real fabric that they were made with. It's like a pantyhose fabric. It snags all day long. It's horrible to sew. And the worst part is trying to put the stuff in to try to do these details. It is a nightmare. You have to use a really big needle, and it is a nightmare to get it just right. And then you got to push stuffing in to get it right. It is horrible to make these. And then the face is even worse. When they call it soft sculptured doll, they weren't joking, because it's a real big trick to try to soft sculpture and put shapes in that face. It's one of the worst things I ever thought about doing. And yeah, mine wasn't a kit. You had to buy all the stuff separate. You got a pattern, you bought the pattern, and then you bought the stuff separate. And I mean, by the time you're done, it's like $100 worth of junk that you lay on your table and go, okay, I'm going to make this doll. And it takes you literally a year. You keep throwing it down. You throw it across the room. I mean, it's just absolutely horrible. The heads were hard as a rock. um, yeah, and I was one of the stupid people that bought the pattern, okay? That was, man, I could have built a doghouse with air conditioning and heating better than I could have done that, okay? So it says some of the memorable lines included the updated kids line of basic cloth dolls that came with birth certificates, the Olympic kids that were made to coincide with the 1996 Olympics, and the Cabbage Patch Fairies. Well, that's interesting. Additionally, to celebrate the doll's 15th anniversary, Mattel created a line of exclusively female dolls with reproduction face molds, dressed in a reproduction dresses reminiscent of the original line and packaged in retro-style boxes. These were 16 inches tall, the same measurement of the first Coleco Cabbage Patch Kids. Okay, so there you have it. The Toys R Us Kids in 2001, with Mattel sales stalling, a former Coleco marketing whiz, Alcon acquired the original Appalachian's licensing rights and sold retailer Toys R Us on producing 20-inch children's dolls and 18-inch. Here, just a second here. Sorry about that. The garbage is here that broke the toilet to begin with. Okay. Now, in 2001, with Mattel's sales stalling, a former Coleco marketing whiz, Alcon, acquired original Appalachian licensing rights and sold retailer Toys R Us on producing the 20-inch kids dolls and 18-inch baby dolls, both with cloth bodies and vinyl heads. They were packaged in cardboard cabbage leaf seats in 2001, and the 20-inch dolls debuted in the Times Square flagship store. These were created to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the line and were available both online and in stores around the United States. Expensive and too cumbersome for most young children to play with, they didn't last long at the high volume retailer. How do you like that? Toys R Us did a big fail. Play Along Toys. The Toys R Us line lasted until Play Along Toys obtained exclusive licensing rights to produce the Cabbage Patch Kids doll line. In 2003, again, using Schlafer's original packaging, Play Along launched a Cabbage Patch Kids 25th anniversary collection using some of the original head sculpts from the very first Coleco editions. The Play Along also partnered with Carvel Ice Cream, and I remember them, in a co-branding campaign. And I believe that Carvel Ice Cream was out of New York. They used to advertise it on kids shows all the time. So that was a real popular name. The resulting co-branded Cabbage Patch Kids were packaged with a Carvel branded ice cream cone. I can't believe that. Oh my gosh. Jack's Pacific acquired Play Along Toys and assumed a master toy license in 2011 for Cabbage Patch Kids. Huh. Jack's introduced a 14-inch Cabbage Patch Kids Fashionality line and other Cabbage Patch Kid products in 2013. It was produced by the Xavier guy, which was actually this other guy. I'll go back to that. Let's see. Jack's Pacific. Um, the guy that created him was the Xavier Roberts. His name was Roberts, the guy that created him. He handmade him. And okay, and so let's see. Jack's Pacific acquired Play Along Toys and assumed the master license again for in 2011. And then produced the 14-inch doll, Cabbage Patch Kids Fashionality line, and the other Cabbage Patch Kid products in 2013. Jack's Pacific released the Celebration Edition to commemorate the 30th birthday of the licensed Cabbage Patch Kids. And then, what, you're writing this down? And don't worry, this vlog will save too. I've got this one's for sale if you want to buy it right now. $210 cash in my PayPal, and I will ship it out with tracking number. Wicked Cool Toys, owned by Jazzwares, is the current master toy licensee for Cabbage Patch Kids. Wow. In this line, WCT released new additions like Little Sprouts, a toy line of tiny collectible dolls, and Adoptimals plush pets who interact with the kids. That must be the one that started the stuff for McDonald's, where they were giving them away with hamburgers at one point. Cabbage Patch Kids brand, the original 1982 Cabbage Patch Kids license agreement with Coleco Industries was negotiated by Roger L. Schlafer, doing business as Schlafer, Nance and Company, the exclusive worldwide licensor for the original Appalachian Artworks, Roberts Company at that time. Following Schlater, Nance and Company's signing of Coleco, SNNC designed and or directed the design and quality of virtually all CPK branded products produced by its over 150 CPK licensed manufacturers, including Coleco. They included the first children's licensed character, diapers, and low-sugar cereal, children's apparel, bedding, stationery products, books, backyard pools, and thousands of other children's products, generating over $2 billion in retail sales for 1984 alone. Okay. Total sales during the Schlafer's 6-year tenure exceeded $4.5 billion. More than 10 times, yeah, you believe that? More than 10 times the total revenues of Cabbage Patch Kids merchandise and entertainment in the 30 years since, the latter of which never made the impact that Roberts claimed it would under his direction in the November 1983 edition of Esquire magazine. Well, here you go. There you have it. And while sales of the dolls and other licensed products declined precipitously in the late 1980s, the dolls have become a mainstay of the toy industry and one of the few long-running doll brands in history. Porcelain Cabbage Patch Kids. These limited edition dolls were available from Applause Gifts and later by direct mail from the Danbury Mint. They have a rigid fabric body with porcelain legs, arms, and head. Oh my gosh, really? So if you see one of those that have the porcelain legs and stuff, it's a Danbury Mint. You know, that thing you saw in a TV commercial or saw in the magazines where, you know, like the gold-plated stuff, and they sold it to you for a really big price, and they said they'd only make so many. And you know, that's what the Danbury Mint stuff is like. You know, they sell you gold coins that are only gold-plated. They're not solid gold. And they sell it to you for big money. So if you see those, they're worth quite a bit. Really? Is that right? So Custom Sewing says, my aunt asked the porcelain was. Wow. You ever tried to make one of these suckers? Because I did. I had bought the pattern, it bit. I hated it. But I could make a prettier doll than that one. Okay, the talking, here we go. Listen to this. Talking Cabbage Patch Kids were among the last new CPK lines introduced by Coleco. Wow, now that's the one that bankrupted out. They were equipped with a voice chip, touch sensors, a microphone. That had to be in the 80s around the Teddy Ruxpin time. That's what I'm thinking. Short range 49 megahertz transmitter and receiver for communicating with other dolls. Oh, they're terrible to make. I did it. I bought the pattern and the exact fabrics and everything. They're horrible to make. Um, uh, Talking Cabbage Patch Kids were among the last new CPK lines introduced by Coleco. Okay. So, let's see. For example, the doll might say, "Hold my hand," uh, and and then give an appropriate speech response when the touch sensor in either hand detected pressure. It also had a movement detector to show the positioning of the doll and whether it was sensed to be on its belly, back, or even upside down. A special plastic drinking cup, I think I remember this, containing a hidden magnet which could be identified with the aid of a small reed relay in the built into the head of the toy above the mouth to signify when it should be seen to be drinking. A more remarkable effect occurred when one doll detected the presence of another through its 49 megahertz AM transmitter receiver. The dolls were programmed to signal their awareness of each other with a short phrase that says, "I think there's someone else to play with here." Oh my gosh. Wow. And then to initiate simple conversations between the dolls themselves with enough randomness to sound somewhat natural. Baby laughs a lot. Um, the joint synchronized singing of rounds being particularly impressive. The inclusion of the microphone was to delay the search and communication with another of its type when the ambient noise was above a certain level. And then here's Babyland General Hospital, okay, at Cleveland, Georgia. General Hospital is a birthplace of little people and is located in Cleveland, Georgia, with the help of local friends. Roberts converted an old doctor's clinic, and we had mentioned this before, into a general store souvenir shop and the doll hospital from which to sell his original little people, which I would say it's just a little gray building. I would say it's like in the center town, and it's right next to where they make the really famous cowboy hats. Um, I would say it's probably um uh oh gee. If we're lucky, we're talking 1,000 square foot. Okay. Let me check on something here real quick. And but it's really neat. It's just like a little old house right in town. And the last time I was up there, it was like a gray looking building in baby blue or something. It's nothing spectacular. It's just a little tiny place. Okay, and then um let's see. Do 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 do. Um okay, Babyland General Hospital is the birthplace of little people and located in Cleveland, Georgia. With the help of local friends, Roberts converted an old doctor's clinic into a general store, souvenir shop, and doll hospital from which to sell his original little people. The facility is presented as a birthing, nursery, and adoption center for the Cabbage Patch Kids. In accordance with the theme, the employees are dressed and pretended to be doctors and nurses, which is true. That is very true. Um, and caring for the dolls as if they were real. Babyland General moved to a new facility on the outskirts of Cleveland, Georgia in 2010 and has been voted one of the Travel Channel's top 10 toylands, though its actual rank and identities of the remaining toylands on the list are mysteries. Okay, so let's see, 20 and 10. I don't know if I've been to the new one or not. I've been to the other one lots of times. And my youngest daughter, I've taken her out there a few times too. Um, and it was just a little bitty place, but I mean, it's real cute for a kid, I guess. We probably would have went nuts over it when we were kids, but it was kind of goofy because it didn't make much sense. I mean, they have this little show of a Cabbage Patch thing, and it's like live, and everybody stands around and watches these babies get born out of cabbage heads. It's really wild. I mean, it's like it's almost like a Disneyland thing, like when you go to Small World and it's like little dolls and stuff. It's kind of like that. Um, it's like a real show. Anyway, and then let's see, adaptations under the direction of the ABC VP programming, Squire Rush now, and produced by Hanna-Barbera Productions. I think Hanna-Barbera was Flintstones. With music by Joe Raposo of Sesame Street and Frank Sinatra fame. Cabbage Patch Kids' First Christmas premiered on ABC on December 7th, 1984. Well, I missed that. Uh, I never heard of that. And was the top rated show in its time slot. Additional shows include Cabbage Patch Kids, The New Kid, a stop motion animated special produced by Gold Hill Entertainment and aired on the Fox Kids Network programming block on August 26, 1995. It was followed by three other stop motion animated specials: Cabbage Patch Kids, The Clubhouse in 1996, Cabbage Patch Kids, The Screen Test in 1997, Cabbage Patch Kids, Saturday Night in 1998, and Cabbage Patch Kids, Vernon Christmas in 1999. Roberts rejected an offer from ABC, okay, the television studios, for an hour Saturday show containing Cabbage Patch Kids and Fur Skins Bears, and there has not been a similar opportunity since. That might have been kind of dumb. Lawsuits. Oh boy. This ought to be really good. Though Xavier Roberts claimed to have originated the look of the Little People, many of the Little People's defining characteristics, such as the dolls' overly round faces and that they came with an adoption certificate, were taken from Martha Nelson Thomas, an American folk artist from Kentucky. Before Roberts became involved in the toy industry, Thomas had created and marketed her own line of dolls called Doll Babies, which she sold at local arts and craft shows and markets, flea market. The two crossed paths at a state fair in 1976, where Roberts began purchasing Thomas's dolls to sell at a profit at his own store in Georgia. Oh, now we have the real info. Thomas eventually confronted Roberts about his unethical business practices. I had somebody do that to me with my leather rhinestone and studded jackets. I was fried. And the two crossed paths at State Fair in 76, whereupon Roberts began purchasing the dolls, sold them at a profit at his own store in Georgia. Thomas eventually confronted um, Roberts about his unethical business practices and ceased to sell any more dolls to him, prompting him to turn to a manufacturing company in Hong Kong to mass produce the dolls similar in appearance to Thomas's at a cheaper cost to him, which I know somebody just went through this, and I told them they were a stupid fool and they need to get a lawyer, and they got burned big time. But they think they're doing real good because they're getting a check every month. But they just sold their butt. This guy I know makes these so-called Jeep carts to hold Jeep doors. When you take the doors off a Jeep. And he sits around like inventing stuff. He's already retired, has big money to begin with, and he sits around doing website names and trying to do patents. Okay. And so he suddenly decides he's created this cart that holds Jeep doors. He was the first one. And some other guy on the internet has copied his exact product. Okay. And so he contacts him. I said, you better get a lawyer. Let a lawyer handle it. And you need to go on Shark Tank. And they'll automatically handle all that right away. They'll give them cease and desist. It's all over with. And you'll get every penny that they ever copied. The lady who invented a Barbie doll that Mattel bought from a lady who lived in Oakland, Oregon until... No. I knew Barbie and Ken's parents. They were kids, and my daddy did business with them. They were brother and sister. Okay? And the parents made the dolls because they thought they had the most beautiful children in the world, so they made dolls after their kids. I know all about that. I grew up around that. So, yeah, when you grow up in California, you're around a lot of very wealthy, prominent people that have made a name. I was around the Hearst. I was around Charlie Manson. I was around all kinds of folks. I was directly involved with a lot of those people because my dad was in a business that attracted a lot of famous people, including Howard Hughes, who was a friend of my dad's, and Hefner. I know all about all that stuff. Anyway, no, Barbie and Ken were not boyfriend and girlfriend. They were brother and sister. Okay, so the Roberts Company, original Appalachian Artworks, later brought, let's see, oh, wait, we skipped something. Okay, Thomas brought suit. Oh, I was going to tell you about the Jeep guy. So anyway, the Jeep guy contacts this clown that's copying his product and selling him hand over fist. And so he's like threatening to sue him, whatever. And then I said, you better go get a lawyer. You better go get a lawyer. It's all over with, man. He's like, I got patent on it and everything. And I said, well, you go get a lawyer. So he did. So then the lawyer contacted the guy and says, cease and desist. We're going to sue you for every piece you've ever made. And you better have the money done. Well, it turns out the guy sold the product design to the Orient and had already paid giant money to have those Jeep carts made in the Orient. Tons of them, right? He'd already sent him the money, everything, and he was waiting during the pandemic to get his stuff because, they stopped all that shipping and all that crap. And so this clown face turns around and ends up deciding, well, I'll just let him pay me for every one he sells. I'm like, well, that's not very smart because you're letting somebody use your design and make money off it. How do you know they're being honest? And why on earth would you create that kind of competition? Okay. Because, you're like competing against yourself. That makes zero sense. Okay. So anyway, hold on a second. Gonna make sure we are not playing with the bathroom here because it is seriously messed up. And I've already had my office flooded by idiots. Okay, so anyway, this guy, he says, well, I'm getting a check every month. And from the guy that, stole my design because he ordered thousands of those things to be shipped from China and everything. I said, you're competing with yourself. You just sold your butt. And he does. He gets a check every month. Then he turned around and there was somebody told me some weird story, which I don't even know if it's true, that he didn't file taxes on all that money he's getting every month. He gets like $7,000 a month from this guy. And the guy's making more than that. And so he apparently he didn't file taxes on it or something from what I'm told. I don't know how much of that's true. And it's been kind of messy, but and this guy's made a bank. Okay, so anyway, let's see. Let's get back in here. Okay, Thomas brought suit against Roberts and eventually settled with him out of court for an undisclosed amount in 1985. She and her husband, Tucker Thomas, told the press that she was more upset by the corruption of her dolls, for which she cared deeply, than the money she'd lost as a result of Robert's actions. Thomas died in 2013 at the age of 62, with her most favorite dolls attending her funeral alongside her family members and friends. Roberts' company, Original Appalachian Artworks, later brought a $30 million lawsuit against Topps, the company that produced grotesque trading cards. I remember that. Parodying his company's dolls called the Garbage Pail Kids. Oh my gosh. I remember when they were making all the funny cards. I used to have a bunch of them. For copyright infringement, having sold over 70 million worth of the cards, top settled with OAA for 7 mil, tantamount to a license, and retained the right to continue producing the Garbage Pail Kids cards. That's funny. In a bitter legal battle with SN&C over whether OAA had violated their licensing agreement with SN&C and Coleco's exclusivity to producing a Cabbage Patch Bear as a line of fur skins bears and failing to pay SN&C its share of the top settlement and refusing to allow ABC TV from doing a Saturday morning animated TV show, Roberts worked out a side deal with Coleco for tens of millions of dollars for a renewal of Schlafer's Cabbage Patch agreement and jointly litigated against SN&C. The suit was settled in 1988 by OAA and Coleco, paying SN&C an undisclosed amount of money. In addition, Paula Osborne, OAA president until Roberts worked out a deal with Coleco, sued him over the share she was entitled to as a stockholder of OAA and received a seven-figure settlement. Seven-figure settlement. 6 months after settling with SN&C, Coleco was out of business. Yeah, because they did that bankruptcy. Product safety. This ought to be really interesting. I have a bunch of those original Garbage Pail Kids cards. Forgot about those. I remember they were doing a bunch of funny cards like that, and you could make them stickers too. I remember when Topps did that. They had that bubble gum in there, and the wax paper thing, and then you got the free card in there. I remember all that. Product safety. One of Mattel's line of Cabbage Patch Kids dolls, the Cabbage Patch Snack Time Kids, was designed to eat plastic snacks. Oh, here we go. You know what this is going to say now? Small parts that children choked on. It's exactly what that's going to say. Okay, yeah. I think it did come with a big rectangle of bubblegum. The mechanism enabling this was a pair of one-way, smooth metal rollers behind plastic lips. The snacks would exit the doll's back and magically appear into a backpack. Huh. Have you ever repaired a motorcycle seat? Just curious. Yeah, I've done some small stuff like that, but they have to maybe gigantic money to do so. Um, as a rule, I used to get people that wanted me to do trailer curtains and stuff like that, and I said, I'm a fashion designer. I make and design clothing. I don't do trailer park curtains and car interiors and crap like that. I've done boat covers and stuff like that for my daddy. That's the only one I do them for. Although I have a friend here in Florida that's begging me to do boat covers and repair sales. The mechanism could be deactivated by releasing the backpack. They were extremely popular during Christmas in 1996. The line was voluntarily withdrawn from the market following an agreement between Mattel and the Consumer Product Safety Commission in January of 1997. Following several incidents where children got their fingers or hair stuck in the dolls' mouths, I believe it, leading to safety warnings from Connecticut's Consumer Protection Commissioner Mark Schifrin. Wow. Okay, so let's go back to the timeline. 1977, Xavier Roberts introduced the Martha Nelson Thomas dolls concept. 1978, the first Little People originals were delivered by Xavier Roberts, who incorporated original Appalachian Artworks Incorporated. 1981, coverage of the doll's popularity went to Newsweek and Wall Street Journal and the Atlanta Weekly. 1982, in an attempt to satisfy home sewers who were doing knockoffs of Little People, OAA licensed paid enterprises to do a cheap Little People facsimile as a Little People pal. The concept died as soon as Coleco's Cabbage Patch Kids came out. Mine was a pattern. The paper pattern you buy in the sewing section, the one that I got, it didn't come with poop. Um, 1982, Roger Schlafer recommended that OAA change the name to his invention, Cabbage Patch Kids, and use his new graphics to build a major children's brand. March 1st of 1982, OAA signs an exclusive worldwide agreement to license Little People as Cabbage Patch Kids with Schlafer, Nance and Company, and put Schlafer on a monthly retainer to do so. In 1982, after being turned down by most doll makers, on August 9th, Schlafer, Nance and Company Incorporated signed a long-term licensing agreement with Coleco Industries as its master toy licensee, granting them the worldwide rights to manufacture the dolls and other CPK branded toys. In 1982, the first prototypes of Cabbage Patch Kids created by Coleco Industries were approved for production by Xavier Roberts. They were later made cuter before shipping in 1983 and causing the international sensation. Let me tell you, I don't see where any of them are cuter. Do you guys remember the Applehead dolls? Okay. Applehead dolls were interesting, but they weren't cute either. They were kind of creepy. Um, 1982, the first prototypes of Cabbage Patch Kids created by Coleco Industries were approved for production by Xavier Roberts. They were later made cuter before shipping in 1983 and causing an international sensation. 1983, Cabbage Patch Kids were introduced with great fanfare to the International Toy Fair in New York City, and by October, the riots were breaking out in stores and it featured in newspaper cartoons around the country. December of 1983, a photo of Cabbage Patch Kid in the arms of a little girl was the cover of Newsweek magazine and the subject of jokes on Johnny Carson almost every night. In 1984, sales for Cabbage Patch Kids branded products, from toys to children's apparel, set a children's merchandising record setting of $2 billion. The CPK record, titled Cabbage Patch Dreams, produced by the Chapin brothers for Parker Brothers Music, went platinum, and a Parker Publishing series of Cabbage Patch Kids in books were bestsellers. Now, I remember some Cabbage Patch books. I do remember some of that. The video game Cabbage Patch Kids, a video game? Cabbage Patch Kids Adventures in the Park. That's creepy. Was released. Let's see. In 1985, Cabbage Patch Kids Low Sugar Breakfast Cereal, an idealist attempt to get children to eat healthier food, ceased production after selling $10,000 worth of cereal. Real children's character art diapers were introduced. I remember when they had diapers for them. The Cabbage Patch Kids' first Christmas animated special with music by famed composer Joe Raposo was #1 in its time slot on ABC. In 1985, within a month of Suzanne Schlafer sending a bald King and I costumed Cabbage Patch Kid to Yul Brynner, he was dead. Well then. Though it's considered bad luck to do a replica of a Broadway, no other connection to the star's death was ever discovered. Oh dear. 1986, the first talking Cabbage Patch Kids were released. OAA sued Schlafer and Nance over their having the right to mass produce a line of Cabbage Patch Bears called Furskins. Now, I remember those. Despite having over 500,000 unsold bears in storage, oh no. To keep their Cabbage Patch license, Coleco bailed out Roberts and gave him a multi-million-dollar bonus under the guise that it was for the creative developments that were done by Judy Albert. In 1988, Coleco Industries filed for bankruptcy, but the dolls continued to be made, the licensing rights being granted to Hasbro Industries and Mattel and a number of other companies noted above. Though popular, they never regained the appeal that they had when managed by Schlafer and Nance. 1992, Cabbage Patch Kids were named the official mascot of the 1992 U.S. Olympic team. Members of the team were given their own dolls to take to the games. Oh my. 1996, the Cabbage Patch Snack Time Kids were released. 1999, by popular vote, the dolls were selected as one of the 15 commemorative U.S. postage stamps. Stop it. Oh, representing the 1980s, they were voted 5th behind E.T. Are you kidding me? I have never seen a Cabbage Patch stamp. I've seen the E.T. ones. Washington's Vietnam Veterans Memorial, the end of the Berlin Wall in video games. In 2008, Democrat and Republican U.S. presidential and vice presidential candidates had their own Cabbage Patch Kids. Barack Obama was depicted with a blue suit. John McCain was depicted in a suit with gray hair. Joe Biden was also depicted in a suit with his hair slicked up, and Sarah Palin was depicted in a trademark suit and skirt with high-heeled pumps. Palin's signature hair and eyeglasses were featured. Haha, my head has a Cabbage Patch doll stamped. You know, and so the original lady that designed them made the Yul Brynner doll, and dude dies a month later. I think he had cancer. The guy that shaved his head, he was like the first to install to shave heads. And so that was the big joke. When anybody was going bald, they decided to shave their head because they were embarrassed being bald. So now they want to be totally bald. And it's like, so you call that you're sporting a good look there? And it got to be like a style. Guys would just go, heck with it, I'll just shave it all. And so this guy dies, and they think that there was hoodoo to reproduce a famous star into a doll because it would kill them. And so here's all these people here. So you got Biden, who's like all screwballed up. They made a doll out of Biden. Then, and this is an 08. Cabbage Patch doll, Barack Obama, John McCain, Joe Biden, Sarah Palin. Uh-oh. Maybe that's why Biden's like he is. Because they made a doll that looked like him. So there you have it. Just loads of fun. Interesting, isn't it? Just interesting. Let's see. What have we got? Boy, the spammers. My gosh. Okay. Jeffrey Nelson. Hey, Jeffrey. Good morning. So sorry, doll looks creepy to me. Haha. Yeah, I saw a doll that was haunted in a glass case. Robert the doll. Yes, I have those videos of dolls sometimes moving on their own. Whoa. Yeah. Man, look at all this nasty mouth stuff these people put on my channel. They're such poo-poo. Okay. Man, they just trashed up my channel. Okay. You got, yep, it was a pattern and a head you bought from, I believe, Mattel. No, I bought mine actually at the Walmart store. I bought mine at the Walmart store in Oklahoma. And you just bought the pattern. It wasn't a kit or anything. It was in the sewing section. And as a matter of fact, when I was in Oklahoma, they hired me to make the displays in the sewing department in the Walmart store. And so I would go down there, and they gave me a pattern and said, okay, you pick the pattern, and then, you make the stuff. We'll give you all the stuff to make it with, and then we'll put it on display. And then I think they were supposed to give it to me after the display, but I don't know if that really ever happened. And then they paid me. And so I made all the displays. When you went into the sewing department, just like a regular sewing store, you would see, this, kid's dress on a mannequin, and then the pattern next to it, and it had to be made exactly as the pattern showed in the picture. The exact type of fabric, the exact print of fabric, the exact color, the exact trim, everything had to be exact, couldn't change a thing. And that's what I did. I made the displays for Walmart in the sewing department. Um, and they went on mannequins above the fabric racks with the actual pattern, and that's what I did. And so they had that pattern you could buy, make your own Cabbage Patch doll, and and it was the entire pantyhose one. It didn't have plastic kid or any of that kind of stuff. It was a total pattern. You cut it out. I may even still have that pattern today. I don't like that pattern. It makes me mad. Um, but I did like two of them. But it was absolutely horrible. It was the most nightmare doll I've ever made in my life. Um, uh, and let's see. And no, mine probably wasn't a pattern from Mattel because Mattel was in California. I've been to the Mattel manufacturing company. Um, the heads were hard as a rock. Are they valuable? Yes. A lot of these dolls are very valuable. This one, if you want to buy it, $210 right now today on PayPal. Um, if you're interested for that doll, that's a very early one. As is, dirty the way it is. You don't want to wash them or fool with them. It has a real Cabbage Patch thing. I just have had a desire. I guess been broke though. Um, I don't even like these dolls. This has a real Cabbage Patch outfit. And actually, this doll's in pretty good shape. It really needs to be wiped down. But they say that, the real collectors don't want you to mess with it because sometimes water will destroy it. So you want to really sell it as is, especially one that's valuable. This one's really old. And I bought this at a secondhand store. And it's actually in quite good shape, especially the face and the hair, oddly enough. So they probably gave it to the kid. The kid hated it, and so they kept it. Um, because if a kid really handled it, it wouldn't be looking that good this many years later because that's an 80s doll. Um, let's see, because the Cabbage Patch dolls right there, my aunt made one just like it when I was 3 or 4, and I'm in my 40s now. Uh-huh. Well, I imagine there's several people try to reproduce that Cabbage Patch, just like the people who were sued doing it. The guy stole the idea from an older lady in Georgia that was making them and selling them at flea markets. And he totally stole the damn idea. Um, so the first was produced by who again? By the old lady in Georgia. Um, and she sold them at flea markets and art events. Um, and then let's see, gosh, a lot of spammers. Yeah, it's that same one that comes around. Look at the nasty stuff they put on my channel. Ugh, they're so poo poo. Because that same one right here, my aunt made back in the early '80s. My aunt has many that she made. Yeah, but see, I bet that pattern says that you can't reproduce it and sell it. Betcha. I know so many people that have sold stuff where they copied Louis Vuitton or Gucci and sold the stuff or used Disney characters on fronts of daycare buildings and got sued for that and shut down. I had some good friends in Bama, two different friends that were doing it, making these stupid purses in the early 2000s. And all it was like a tote bag, like you throw your roller skates in there or something. It's a fabric purse thing, just a tote bag. No zipper, no snaps, no nothing. And they made these tote bags, and they made them out of fabrics like with the teams on them and stuff like that. And they were selling them. And both the people I knew that did it got busted, and I warned them. I said, you can't use those fabrics for resale. Oh, yes, you can. So I'm telling you, I bet you can't. And one day I went to Hancock Fabrics, and I had my daughter with me, and I said, look at what it says on the side of this fabric, on this bolt, and it's repetitive. It prints along every single yard that you buy. And it has the date and copyright info, and it says for home personal use only, not for resale. And those people, both of them got busted for that, doing those purses with teams on them and crap. So you have to be very, very careful what you use to reproduce and sell without permission. I have permission from three big companies to reproduce their things for resale, and I'm limited to how many I can produce too per year. And I've had it for years and years and years. Um, I mean, all you have to do is contact them. You contact them, you get it in writing, whether it's an email or a handwritten letter or whatever. It needs to be in writing. You need to have that in the event you go through any legalities later, especially if the company just changes hands and it's been sold. You don't want to get sued later by the new owners because, you're still running on a contract one with the old people. Auto upholstery closet you can only buy from the manufacturer. Same deal. Oh yeah, I know my brother wanted me to do a headliner with Alabama on it, and I said, I'll do it, but because he was like, my baby loves Alabama, and that car got ended up getting totaled anyway. And I said, do not tell anybody who made it, and I don't want to have anybody come to me and ask me to make me one. Because I don't normally do other people's headliners. I do my own, but I have no interest in doing people's car headliners because everybody be running going, I want one like that. One, because it's totally illegal, so I can't take any money for it. And two, um, you just don't want to get caught doing it. It's somebody's work. And I get mad when people copy my crap and I sue them. I get Cadillacs over that. Trust me, I don't play. You copy my stuff, my registered patterns, you're done. I'll get Cadillacs out of you. So, let's see. My aunt has the porcelain ones. I don't think I've ever seen the porcelain ones. I don't think I've ever seen the advertisement for the porcelain ones. But I imagine they were super expensive. I don't have a doubt in my mind they weren't less than $200. And then it says she has everything Cabbage Patch doll. Um, I have never tried to make one. Haha, the creepy talkie one. Yep. I don't know if I remember that. There is a creepy doll that is vintage called Baby Laughs a Lot. Says, haha, you could actually manipulate what they said with certain amateur radio equipment and radio control equipment. Yep. Seen only one. They are creepy. The Laugh a Lot doll in the middle of the 20th century. I don't know if I remember that. Yes, Flintstones. The lady who invented Barbie doll. No, that's wrong. The lady who invented the first one after her daughter, she lived in Oakland. Might have moved there. We knew their parents. My dad did business with them. And I was shocked when I found out that Barbie and Ken weren't boyfriend and girlfriend. They were actually brother and sister. Um, their parents were very, very nice. The lady who invented the Barbies from Oakland, Garbage Pail Kids, yes. I have a bunch of those original Garbage Pail cards. Forgot about those. Exactly. They came with the bubble gum. Um, they were the best trading cards in the world. Those funny cards. They were so funny. Um, uh, have you ever repaired a motorcycle seat? Yep. Just assuming you so. Well, yeah, Showgirl Ltd is a long time business. Showgirl Limited Designs. Um, uh, my daughter had named the business after me being a showgirl in Vegas. That's where it got its name when it was eventually named years later. And It's Showgirl Ltd, which is Showgirl Limited Designs, because I don't do massive duplications. None of my stuff is mass produced. It's produced by me, designed and created by me. Now, both of my two girls have designed patterns for the company, and we own those patterns too. And they were very young when they designed those clothes. Um, let's see. And if you're going to do leather, or you're going to do car interiors, or you're going to do LL, you have to have a stepper machine for it. And my machine was a high step machine that I purchased that I actually worked on in a factory. And they are usually about $5,000. Most of it's the head, and then the table's like 2,000. Um, but Yeah, when you turn them on, they go, row, 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 row. They're amazing. But that's what you use to sew with that. Don't think you can do car interiors and all that LL and all that stuff like, somebody who does that for a living, because it's a whole nother ball game. It does not work well on a homemaker machine. You have to know what you're doing. Um, Even working with the foams. And I'm trying to figure out what the hell all this ruckus is. And the bathroom that's broken. It is so tough dealing with the freaking mentally ill, I swear. Okay, let's see what we got here. Da, da, da. In projects on yourself, different else, and it's not hard. Yes, it is. You have to have the proper machine. I'm telling you, you will absolutely hate it. And I knew a girl years ago who came to me, um, and she wanted to do costumes, and she said, "Look, I won't make what you make." I said, "I know you won't, because I'll sue your bazungas off." And she said, her aunt died. She inherited a bunch of money, and she wanted to, make like the waffle clothes like they did in Memphis, but she wanted to do them in leather. I said, "Well, leather's lost." She's like, "No." And I said, "Yeah, you have to have special machines for it. They're super expensive. You have to know how to sew it. The best one to teach you is a shoemaker. Pay him to teach you, and then, buy your machines. But I'm telling you, you're wasting time." Then she wanted to have a fleet of sewers, and she was going to give them the machine, and then they could use the machine towards paying for it by not getting paid to make the products, and then they could keep the machine. I said, "No, then the sucker will be gone, because they'll move and you'll never find them again." I said, "You're going to lose a bunch of machines." And she just had a bunch of money and didn't really know what, didn't have the brains to figure this whole mess out. There was just so many problems with it. And she ended up buying a whole bunch of machines and giving them to people to supposedly sell for her. She ended up losing most all the machines. And next thing you know, she's ordering this stuff for $5 a hit from Japan and selling it for like $100 in Huntsville, Alabama. Yeah, she doesn't so damn thin. But she was really going to be into that leather, and it was like, good luck to you. Because I know all about it. And leather is worthless on stage. Why? Because the dancers don't usually wash their clothes. And leather has to be special cleaned by, a leather person. I sold leather garments, high end leather garments, like jackets over $2,000, boots $1,000 and up, when I worked for Leatherbound LTD in the Valley in California. And I got to tell you, there's a lot to leather care, and you pay people to handle it and clean it and whatever. And especially if you're wearing panties that are made out of leather, dresses that are made out of leather. The problem is it looks great on stage, feels great, it's super sexy, but guess what? It has to be cleaned, and it needs to be cleaned every time that you wear it for the day, because otherwise it smells like old dead cow. Now, if you're a really gorgeous stripper and you walk up to a guy in a super sexy black tight dress and you smell like old dead cow, how appealing is that? That's why we don't use leather in the entertainment industry most of the time, because when you sweat in it, it smells like old dead cow. Okay, so it's not worth it. You can buy good fakes, but still, a lot of those you can't even sew on a homemaker machine. I know, because I do them. I do chaps and stuff. Um, let's see. I only do the upholstery work that my local shop doesn't have time or wants to do. They send patch and mend work to me. Well, I'm glad for you. I'm not interested in doing any car upholstery or any of that crap. I hate it, especially doing like bicycle seats and motorcycle seats and things like that. It's a lot of work, and there's pros out there that really know what they're doing, and I kind of leave it to them. I have attempted to do it, like covering car visors of my own and stuff like that. I can do a headliner like Jack Flat, boom, boom. But once you start tearing up car seats and trying to fool that and all that crap, and yeah, I'm not into all that. Let's see, you can probably Fix one yourself. Haha, my aunt has a Cabbage Patch doll stamps. That's pretty cool. I know that those dolls made a comeback. I had a few requests. Really? Um, I'm not seeing the comments. I have repaired dolls. I just haven't had a desire, or I guess been broke enough yet money wise to actually make the dolls. Oh, you'd have to charge a mint. They're horrible to make. I have had people request some really ugly dolls that I don't want my name on. Well, yeah, I know. And I've had girls want me to make those Civil War flag outfits. What do they call it? A rebel outfit or whatever. And it hurts a lot of black people's feelings. Some black people doesn't bother them at all, but others it's really hurts them. And so I ceased from making any of those outfits. And I've had people cuss me out because I wouldn't. And I said, I'm sorry, there's no money in the world that will get me to make an outfit like that. I can't do it. I don't want people to know I made that because it might hurt their feelings. Even though a job is a job is a job and all money is green, this outfit would be worn intentionally in a southern club to deface black people. Okay? And I'm just not for that. That's not nice. Let's see. I don't want my name on it. I know that she made them because she enjoyed making them. Um, there are all the grocery cloths that you can buy from the manufacturer. Same days. I bought mine wholesale. I've worked a lot of LL, and I get mine wholesale in linear yard. I buy whole bolts. In fact, I probably got 6 bolts in storage out here. That's not even cut. Singer industrial. Singers are good if you have an industrial straight liner or something, or zigzagger or whatever it is. Um, my daddy has a zigzagger, which I'm still trying to get, and it's not even being used. Um, but yeah, so uh, it's very interesting though, isn't it? Oh my. But anyway, so there you have it. And I'm about out of battery power over here. Uh-oh, spaghetti-o. So I'm gonna vlog off over here, and I really appreciate you guys being here. And uh, I'll see you in the next vlog. I love you. Have a great day. Do something kind for a stranger. See you in the next one.